Hi everyone, welcome to Birthing at Home, a podcast. I'm Elsie, your host. I've had 2 home births in April 2020 and in June 2023. I'm a mental health nurse and an ex-student midwife that has a strong passion for birth and supporting women. Before we begin, I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people who are the traditional custodians of the land I'm recording on in Naarm, Melbourne, Australia. I would also like to acknowledge that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have been birthing at home on country for tens of thousands of years prior to the British invasion and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded.
This is episode 8. When I recorded this episode with Desiree a few weeks ago, I got goosebumps listening to her incredible journey. Desiree is a nurse from Melbourne and wife to Jamie. She's also mum to Ivy, who was born via emergency C-section at 32 plus 5 weeks, and also is mum to rainbow baby Olive, who was born at home about 10 months ago. This was a truly inspiring and powerful story, and I really hope you enjoy it as much as I did and also learn something from it.
Welcome, Desiree, to the Birthing at Home, a podcast.
Hi, Elsie. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Where are you? I didn't ask this before, Desiree. Where do you live?
I live in Officer in the southeast suburbs of Melbourne.
Oh, cool. Nice. I'm in Melbourne too, as you may already know that.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about who you are, your family, etc.?
So I have a husband, Jamie, and I've got 2 daughters. My first, Ivy, she will be 5 in January, and Olive will be 10 months old on Monday.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Which the last podcast I listened to actually was a birth story about another Olive.
Yeah. I got a bit confused because
was funny.
I write everybody that contacts me, like their names down, and often I write down the names of the babies, and then I got a bit confused because I was like, wait, who's Olive? Like, why is there more than one Olive? But yeah, cute name. Cool. And I believe you had Olive at home, is that right?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Awesome. Do you want to start by telling us a little bit about Ivy's, like your experience with birth around Ivy? Because I understand that she was born quite early.
Yes, she was. So I had a relatively straightforward pregnancy up until the day that I had Ivy. So she was born at 32 weeks and 5 days. And like I said, straightforward pregnancy, no issues. And then I had had some reduced movements for coming up to probably a day and a half, and a little bit of bleeding as well. So I went to hospital to get monitored. And when I was put on the CTG monitor, they found a heart rate despite not having felt any movements for quite some time. But Ivy's heart rate was between 50 and 70, which is very
really
low.
Yeah.
So I stayed on the monitor for, it was a couple of hours. Her heart rate would spike back up to within a normal range, and then it would drop down. I went and had an ultrasound, and that didn't detect any limb movement. So that was pretty frightening. And I went back up to the maternity ward, and they said to me that you'll be having your baby in 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
So I'd literally gone to hospital with what I was wearing and my keys and my purse, thinking that I'm just going to go and get a checkup. Everything's going to be fine, and I will be going home. I had my baby shower planned for that coming weekend, my maternity photos the following week. It was my mum's 50th that also coming weekend. And in the end, none of those things went ahead because I had a baby.
Yeah.
So I was at the hospital. That time period was probably about, I went there about 11:30 in the morning, and she was born at 6:22 p.m. So it was a few hours still. I was taken down to theatre with my husband, Jamie, and I was going to have the spinal, so I would be awake. However, things continued to, dramatically take a turn for the worst. And Ivy's heart rate continued over this time to stay at the lower amount for longer periods of time. So when I was being taken down, it stayed at about 50 for about 10 minutes, and my blood pressure was quite high. So they actually asked Jamie to leave, and I had a general anaesthetic. So it was extremely looking at the time for me, everything happened so quick, and I work as a nurse also, so I think I just knew that it was a true emergency, and I just needed to let everybody do what they needed to do. But obviously it was an awful experience being on the other side, but it was very traumatic for Jamie, and he essentially didn't know what was going to happen to his wife or his baby.
Wow.
So she was born breathing, actually, and her umbilical cord was coiled from the top to the bottom, and it was dry. They couldn't get cord blood from it, so we were extremely lucky. She just had obviously moved a lot, which when I reflect back and think about my pregnancy, she did move all the time, but I didn't know any different as to whether it was a lot or not, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, we were told that an hour would have made a difference. So we were very, very lucky.
Wow.
And then, we ended up, she spent just almost 6 weeks in the nursery. We both stayed at the same hospital, and she didn't need a lot of respiratory support or anything like that. She just essentially, she needed a little bit for the first couple of days, but apart from that, she just really needed to grow. And yeah, but it was obviously quite a journey being my first pregnancy, my first baby. Nothing, turned out quite as we had thought it would.
Wow.
And to be honest, we hadn't done any birth classes or anything yet because they were still coming. And so I hadn't really actually thought about anything. And so it was quite, it actually was quite a challenging first 12 months. It took a long time to work through everything.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. So you work as a nurse. Were you still working at 32 weeks?
I was. So I had worked. I'd worked a morning shift on the Wednesday, and she was born on the Thursday. And at lunchtime on the Wednesday is when we all sat down at lunch, and I first thought, I don't know if I felt a lot of movement today, but we had a busy shift so far, so I didn't think too much of it, and I still felt like that. I remember we'd gone to Jamie's parents for dinner that night, and I still felt the same way. But I guess being the first time being pregnant, and I just didn't want to, go and get checked if it was nothing or anything like that. So I waited until the morning, and then it was then when I actually had some spotting, some bleeding, that was actually what made me go to the hospital, not actually the reduced movements as such first. But then when I think back, obviously something was happening at that time earlier.
Yeah, I totally understand what you mean, because obviously I'm a nurse as well, and definitely when I had my first baby Murphy, I would go the whole shift, and it was so busy. You're not tuned in to your body really, because you're doing 100 things at once, and it wouldn't be really until I would get in the car and be driving home, or if I sat down and really concentrated, that I would actually feel him moving. So wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's exactly
a miracle.
right. Ivy is truly a miracle. She really, really is.
Wow.
Yeah, we're very, very lucky.
Yeah.
And
oh my
you would
goodness.
never know now that she was a preemie, and she has done extremely well. And but
That's
obviously
incredible.
a very different start to parenthood, and as we I guess had have thought it was going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm so curious then.
It's like one extreme to the other.
You went from that, such an intense story.
So
medicalized, but in the way that
it needed to
it's
be.
meant to be.
Yeah.
To like the whole other, like the other end of the spectrum, and had a home birth with Olive. Please tell me how that came about. Did you know about home birth before, like with Ivy, or like had you always were you always planning to have Ivy in the hospital?
I was always planning to have Ivy at the hospital. I had in my mind that I would like to have a water birth. And have, no to minimal interventions. But I guess that was it. Like I hadn't really thought about it anymore or looked into it anymore. I kept thinking, I'll just wait until we have these birth classes at the hospital and, I've got plenty of time. And, then that obviously all didn't happen. So once I had that experience with Ivy, I guess I more than ever wanted to have a vaginal birth. And I felt like everything with Ivy's birth, well, I didn't even go into labor, so I'd never experienced that. And in regards to the birth, everything got taken away from me, and I didn't have any options and or any say in regards to how things went, which I know were for a very good reason. But I really wanted that the next time.
Yeah, I think two things can exist. Two different things can exist at the same time. That's still, for a good reason. The choices that you otherwise would have had got taken away because it was a medical emergency, but that you can still feel disappointed, I guess. I think that's valid.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Which is, I guess, how I did feel. So then I knew of a couple of people that had not in like my direct friendship circle or anything like that, but I did know of a couple of people that had home births, and I also knew that the local public hospital did offer a home birth program. However, when I had looked into that, I then wasn't eligible for it because I had a cesarean. So to the hospital system, I was automatically marked as a high risk. Yeah. Even though I didn't feel like I was high risk, because the reason I had a cesarean was essentially just to save my baby's life. If that makes sense. So I didn't have any other risk factors apart from that. And so then I started it was a couple of years later. I started researching vaginal births after cesarean, and then that led me to find out about home births after cesarean. And I just was like, wow, like, is that a thing? Like, I was
people
just
are doing
so amazed.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, like, how is that possible? How does that happen?
Yeah.
And so I had spoke to a couple of people, like I said, who I knew had them. One of them had her birth through the hospital that I was talking about. So I then thought, well, actually, both of these people had, I think their baby through a public hospital home birth program. So then, knowing that I wasn't eligible for that is when I then I kind of joined more home birth after cesarean groups as opposed to VBAC groups. Because obviously being a home birth group, these people were birthing predominantly at home, and I found a lot of them it was all through private midwives. Yeah. So I guess that's how I just joined a lot of Facebook groups, read books, listened to podcasts. I kind of became like obsessed with it.
Yeah. You kind of almost
so
have to, just for home birth, because it's such a process of educating yourself. And yeah, I think if you spoke to any person that's had a home birth, they would know, they could probably deliver their own antenatal class because the stuff that you feel like you have to learn, because you've never been, I guess that's why it can be quite disempowering to be in a more medicalized system, because you trust other people have that information for you and they'll provide that information to you. But in a home birth, like you obviously can have a private midwife, but yeah. That's all right. I think I've started a
that's
podcast.
such a good summary of and way to put it, because that's so true. When you're having a home birth, you have to have so much trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And I really did. And then my husband eventually came on board and he did as well. And so we then found a local private midwife, so that she was one who was recommended again to us. And I made a short list of a couple. However, we only ended up meeting Sam. And we met her. She came to our house and she met Jamie and I just felt like she was the one straight away. And when she left, Jamie had said the same thing to me, despite at this time he still wasn't
on board.
He wasn't 100% on board at the beginning. But then I never looked back from Sam. And I actually it was even I guess a bit of a longer process, because then I actually fell pregnant and unfortunately miscarried. So then it took, and after that loss, this was in August in 2021, it took another 6 months to fall pregnant. But Sam had always said that she would essentially be waiting to hear from me again.
Wow.
And that she would keep a spot for me. Which was really, really lovely, because I just felt like we really clicked. And I had only met her that one time, and then we had our booking appointment, and actually the day that we had our initial booking appointment is when I miscarried that night after I'd seen her.
Gosh.
It was lovely that she waited, because in that time it was 6 or more months still before I needed to contact her again. And so I had I had years. I did lots of research. In the end.
I guess I'm so curious about like how you worked through, or what kind of fears that you and Jamie would have had to work through, like having that experience with Ivy and then miscarrying. Like, to me, I would not blame you if you did not trust your body. I would think, wow, she has reason to think that, that something's gone astray or whatever. So I am so amazed that you have overcome all of that. So do you have anything like...
It didn't make me this, having then, I guess, what happened with Ivy and then the miscarriage, and I guess it didn't make me still not want to do or have a home birth. I was still 100% on board, and I just hoped that I would one day get my opportunity to have another baby, and I did. And I, in the meantime, just continued to research, and knowing that I had established a connection with a private midwife, and that she was waiting to hear from us.
It sounds like
that was reassuring as well.
It was like she believed in you, like, and that's essential.
And I felt like that from the get-go when I met her, that she was like, no, you know, like, even though maybe she didn't exactly say this, but it was as if she was like, yep, you can do this. Like, you're going, not even you can do this, you're going to do this.
Yeah.
And so I guess Jamie in particular, it was him that more so had to work through a lot of fears, because he, I guess with Ivy as well, he also lost all control. And he was just extremely fearful that something again was going to happen that was going to be harmful to myself or the baby, and that he would essentially lose one of us. So yeah, that was, I guess, the biggest thing was for him to work through that, how we could have a home birth but it be safe. And the fact that we live quite close to a hospital was reassuring. The biggest thing actually was we did a hypnobirthing class together when I was about 25 and 26 weeks pregnant with Olive. So both Jamie and I did that over 2 weekends, and that was the best thing that we've ever done in regards to preparing for like labor and birth. And he still talks about it to this day, like when he, I guess, speaks about our experience, and just learning about, I guess, he just felt, I guess, empowered, and learning about like the different stages of labor and different tools that you can use, and I guess things like learning, even though like learning about the interventions in a hospital and what you would do at home instead, and things like that. And yes, I guess just education. That education was so helpful for us and made us both feel extremely confident to trust the process. And I think, I guess, in the end, the fact that I trusted my body and myself, to be able to achieve that, then I guess he just, supported me in doing so. So I think the hypnobirthing course, definitely.
Yeah, I would, 100% agree with that. You might have heard in another podcast, I've also done the hypnobirthing course, and I'm pretty sure I've said this before, but hypnobirthing, it kind of sounds a little bit like airy-fairy, like you're going to be hypnotized, you know, but it's like totally not that. They should like rename it or something. It's definitely not like that.
I know it sounds very alternate and like hippie like, doesn't it? I guess. But it's really not. I mean, of course you can do, which I did a lot of them, and Jamie and I did them together in for weeks and weeks, like from when we started at 25 and 26 weeks, the meditations at nighttime and the listening to like the hypnosis tracks and things like that. But it's obviously not all that.
But even that, like, there's nothing wrong with meditation. Meditation is like researched and very evidence-based. It's like, I'm pretty sure the evidence says we should be doing some sort of meditation. That would be very good for all of our mental health.
It would be.
So I think that, I could go on, but anyway, I think that's awesome. And what about the people around you? I can imagine, you know, even though they weren't present, obviously when Ivy was born and whatnot, like hearing that story, I mean, it gave me chills. So, and I've just met you. So the people around you, like when you said, oh, I'm going to go have a home birth with Olive, did they have any 2 cents to throw in, or?
Definitely people had differing opinions, I guess. And I think both of our families were very supportive. They perhaps didn't, I guess, say all that, like, say too much. Just accepted, I guess, that was what we had chosen to do,
okay.
and that's totally fine. And whereas I think perhaps if people had made comments, being, I guess, family or friends, they, I guess, were just concerned knowing that what had happened with Ivy, if something like that would happen again, I guess, how would we deal with that? Or perhaps, it definitely was coming from a good place of not wanting something to happen to me or the baby. But also, if things didn't go to plan, how would I, cope or manage with that? Because I had already had such an experience that didn't go to plan, and it was quite traumatic, and it's taken a long time to work through and to be at peace with. So if something like that was to happen again, well, if I have my heart set so much on a home birth and it didn't happen. And I did get some comments, I guess, from people, I guess, in the medical industry that, were just, I guess, don't necessarily always think that that's the best option, I guess, because they work in the medical industry. And I mean, in saying that, you and I both do, but obviously we have different mindsets. And ways at looking at things. So I guess, we definitely did have some differing opinions and comments. But in saying that, I felt like Jamie and we had done so much research and, asked so many questions and got all the information that we needed to be able to, back why this is our choice, and not let anyone's fears or negative comments affect our choices. I guess. Yeah. So I felt like I was so confident in my decision that, I was even happy for someone to make a comment, because I was so happy to have a conversation about it and be like, well, actually this is why we're doing it. And then blah, 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 blah. Like, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I guess thinking about it, like, the issue wasn't really like labor. If you can have a healthy, relatively straightforward pregnancy and you get to labor, then nothing really that's happened indicates that you would be any higher risk during labor. So why not? Like,
that's exactly right. I just thought that was the number one thing really, was that I just thought birthing at home would give me the best opportunity to have a vaginal birth, and to do that in the comfort of my own home, and that I couldn't ask for anything more.
During your pregnancy, did you decline anything in particular?
I didn't do the gestational diabetes test. And I didn't, I think that was all.
Did you do the test when you had Ivy?
I did, When I had Ivy, I did all the tests that were suggested and recommended. Again, I just feel like I didn't know any different. Or I didn't know that there were other options, or that you could, I guess, say no to things or make your own choices, if that makes sense.
I guess that's why I ask, because I want people who listen to know that you can say no to things.
Anything, I guess.
Especially the GTT.
And I had done a lot of research into that as well, and there obviously is not much evidence to suggest that that's effective, but that's another kettle of fish.
Yeah, that's like a whole other podcast. I think the Midwives Cauldron, I'm not sure if you've heard the episodes, but the Midwives Cauldron, they do ones. 2 really good, it's like a part 1, part 2 kind of thing about gestational diabetes. And I also, just as an extra thing, I am fairly sure that the Great Birth Rebellion also recently did a podcast about the statistics surrounding VBACs, but maybe also with HBACs as well. So if you're listening and are interested, you should go check out those podcasts.
Yeah, that would be a good one to listen to.
Yeah,
I have listened to that the Midwife's Cauldron diabetes one.
Yeah,
gestational diabetes one. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I think so with Ivy. With Olive's pregnancy, though, we did choose, which I didn't do with Ivy's pregnancy, we did do the Harmony screen testing just because of having had the miscarriage. I just wanted peace of mind that things were all, I guess, as okay as can be. But apart from that, I don't think there was anything else that I didn't. I think that was the only thing.
Yeah. Did you, you were under the very supportive care of Sam, did you say her name was?
Sam. And
Sam.
We had, she was our primary midwife. Our second midwife, her name was Erin. We met her at 38 weeks and then at the... Well, actually, she didn't make it. Olive was born before she was. Olive was born before she came, but that's later.
Yeah. But so when you declined the glucose tolerance test, did you experience any pushback from like anyone, or it was just kind of no, I declined?
No, not at all. Sam just was totally fine with that.
Amazing.
And I didn't have any. Jamie was happy for me to make whatever decision I thought was appropriate.
And
cool. So I didn't really receive any pushback at all. No.
Yeah. And when did you finish work? Whilst you were pregnant with Olive?
I worked with Olive. I worked until 34 weeks.
Yeah.
It was a completely different experience to actually. I had maternity leave, but I had Ivy with me this time.
Yeah. It's not much of, it's never a holiday, but like with a toddler, it's just, it's not very relaxing.
No.
How did it feel, I guess, when you were 32 plus 5 with Olive? Was there like anything that you had to work through at that time? I guess, did it make you feel anxious in the lead up to that gestation, or?
No, I don't think that I felt anxious in the lead up to that gestation, and I didn't feel stressed or anything like that. I think that I just knew that what happened with Ivy was so extreme and something that is like once in a blue moon kind of thing. Like, the chance of that happening was so slim to none again. So everything in this pregnancy, and also like I'd passed those earlier stages. So I and like had my 20-week scan and all of those things obviously being further on. So I just, I felt completely fine. The pregnancy had been very straightforward and everything was going along without any bumps. So different baby, different pregnancy, different experience. It's crazy.
Cool. So you finished work at 34 weeks. When was Olive born?
She was born at 40 plus 6.
Oh, cool. So how did you spend that 8 weeks, almost 8 weeks?
Yeah, it was a long time, almost 8 weeks. So it's crazy when I think that, between Ivy and Olive, it's so extreme, like just born at other ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time, I guess, preparing my birth space, like making, like collecting things that I needed for my birth space. And then my mum had made me some beautiful affirmation cards, which I'd hung. So I guess, just putting up fairy lights and making that space how I wanted it, practicing all the meditations and all of those things. This time I did a lot of cooking because when we had Ivy, we were given a lot of meals, which was just one of the best things ever and so helpful when we were spending so much time in hospital. But so this time I wanted to, prepare meals. So I did a lot of cooking so I could have frozen meals at hand when Olive was born. And just, I did a lot of like decluttering and organizing in the house. I think that real nesting, like sorting out the laundry cupboard and things, just all those things that I never got the chance to do on my maternity leave that I didn't have before Ivy was born. Catching up with friends and family or just relaxing and taking it easy.
Yeah, nice.
It was really, really lovely, and I obviously got it for a long time. So
In the weeks leading up to having Olive, did you have any signs of labor or signs that your body was preparing to go into labor?
No, I had none. And not until the night that I woke up and went into labor, I didn't I didn't have any Braxton Hicks or anything like that. I felt pretty I still felt pretty good and wasn't really uncomfortable or anything like that. So I guess I was just kind of plodding along. The closer that it got, though, we actually had a friend's wedding the week after Olive was born, and Jamie was the best man, and Ivy was a flower girl. So that was starting to become a little bit stressful. The longer, well, obviously to some people I was overdue to say, but I knew that I would never, I assumed that I wouldn't have Olive on her guest date. I was just calling it. And then, I'd got to 40+6. And so that week prior to that, and knowing that the wedding was coming up, and that it obviously was getting closer and closer day by day to 42 weeks, that was starting to stress more so, I guess, Jamie out. But I was starting to think about what's going to happen if we don't have the baby before the wedding, or if I get to 42 weeks and things like that. So I guess those things were stressful to say.
But otherwise it was just waiting, trusting.
Yeah, just waiting and trusting, just trying to really wait and continue to trust the process. And Sam was very supportive and just, doing the same thing, just continuing to trust the process. And she had actually, as long as everything was I was still feeling fine and movements were fine, she was very supportive in actually going further than 42 weeks as well. So, I guess I just had to really continue to trust that process.
So did you say 40+6 is when you went into labor?
Yeah, is when I went into labor. And Olive was born that day.
Do you want to tell us about that then?
Well, so speaking about all of those stresses, it was the day before she was born. We had spoken quite a lot about that, and I just wanted to I had actually posted in a Homebirth group, pretty much saying what I'd said to you, and is there anything that people suggest doing to just, I guess, continue to trust the process? And a lot of people had suggested different tracks to listen to, and things to do, but it was late at night, so I'd gone to bed. It was about 10 o'clock on the Thursday night, and I put on like a fear release track. And I fell asleep listening to that. Actually getting into bed, I'd said to Jamie, I'd asked him if he could take a bump photo. And he was
cute.
like, "Oh, it's so late. I'll just do it in the morning."
Oh, no.
Like, oh. Well, no, I said to him, no, just please, come on, just take one photo. So he did. And lucky you did, because that was my last bump photo.
Oh, wow. I've just remembered what I was going to say. Did you get your baby shower?
Oh, yes, with Olive. That is
with Olive.
One of the that was one of the special things I did do while I was on maternity leave. My friends and family did throw me a baby shower. Yeah. We had a beautiful lunch and celebrated her impending arrival.
Yes.
That was lovely.
Excellent. I'm very glad you got to experience that. So you got your bump photo, and
so you took the bump
you were
photo
listening
and
to fear release.
I listened to the fear
tracks.
release.
Yep.
And I went to sleep. That was about 10 o'clock, and then I woke up at 2:30 with some mild cramping, and this was the first time that I'd had. To me it felt like period cramps, and I hadn't felt anything like that and up until then. And I went to the toilet. I think I needed to do a poo. And then I'd had a little bit of a bloody show, and I was like, oh, I think things are happening. Like, I'd done enough reading to know that like that's like the sign of, I guess, things are working. So I had told Jamie, I think he probably heard me get up, and I told him, and then I said, but don't worry, like, don't call work or anything, like, this has obviously just happened. So then I laid back down, and then I couldn't go back to sleep. The cramps, it was already like, too much to go back to sleep. So I guess over the next couple of hours, and when I say hours, it's only until about 5:30. So like the next 3 hours, I probably each hour, like, I'd get up and go to the toilet. I kept needing to do a poo. I kept having more of a bloody show.
But that's amazing, because isn't your body like so incredible? Because the poo, I mean, poo's gross. Nobody likes poo. As nurses, we've probably seen a lot more poo than your average person.
Haven't we?
Maybe not as much as midwives, but like when you understand like the physiological like way that your body works in labor, like poo is a good sign. Poo means that your body is doing stuff. Like
things are on.
Things are on. Yeah. So absolutely.
I just so I kept having to go to the toilet, and like I said, doing a poo, have a bloody show, and I would have these cramps. So I had gotten a heat pack that I was either, if I in between getting up, I was lying down using my heat pack, or I'd get up, go to the toilet. I was just walking around our bedroom, like listening to, I had put on like my headphones in and was just listening to a birth playlist that I had, like songs with lyrics, or then I was just, I guess, like walking around our room and swaying, just reading the affirmations on the wall. Like, I didn't want to get too excited or anything, because in my mind I thought, this is going to go on for, a long time. And then it got to, I also didn't want to call Sam in the middle. I felt bad calling her in the middle of the night, waking her up. So I waited until at about, it was about 20 to 6, I think it was. And I called her and let her know that, a few hours ago I'd gone, what I thought had gone into labor, and she I could hear her doing things, and I said, "Oh, you're awake. I didn't wake you up." She was actually at another birth, and this has not happened to her ever before.
Wow.
So there ended up being 2 babies born, like hours apart.
Oh my gosh.
And the other mum, her second midwife was the same second midwife as me. So the two midwives that were going to come to me were at another birth.
What?
So it's so crazy.
Oh my gosh. They earned their money that night.
Oh my gosh, did they ever? They worked very, very hard. And they worked hard in the week or two after, like all the checkups and everything they do. It was crazy.
Oh my gosh.
But so that baby had been born already. It was, I think it was about 4 or 4:30 in the morning it was born. So anyway, I wasn't having a baby just yet. But then she just said, yeah, that'll, keep doing what you're doing and just keep me updated. And then so I continue at about so I spoke to her about 20 to 6. At about, I think it was about 20 past 6, my daughter, I just put the TENS machine on. I thought, the cramping is getting a little bit more intense now. So I put the TENS machine on, and otherwise we're still doing the same things. Like, by this time I wasn't lying down anymore. I tried actually to sit or to lean over the exercise ball that I had, and I did that once and thought, no, that is just not comfortable. That's not what I want to do. And I had thought that I would really use that exercise ball, and I didn't at all. Yeah. I then I was spending a lot of time sitting on the toilet. I just found that comfortable. And so it was about 20 past 6, not long after that, I put the TENS on, and my daughter Ivy had woken up and come down to our bedroom, which is where I was. Jamie had woken up and he was out in the lounge room. I just wanted to be left on my own. And just really try and get myself in a zone and like a headspace. And not, be interrupted. And Ivy's definitely a mummy's girl and always wants me. And she had come straight to our room and she had asked if I could make her breakfast, I think it was. And Jamie had followed her because he was like, no, come out of there. And she immediately got upset and started crying. And he just took her out of the room, and he did an amazing job at comforting her. And I actually didn't see her again because we were so unsure about whether or not she would be here and how that would all play out. Because I wouldn't be able to give her that attention and things. She didn't be here, but so then he had called my mum then to say that, actually no, he hadn't called my mum just yet because my mum had sent me a message, and this was still before 7 a.m. So I was still like, she had sent me a text message, and my family were having a guessing game at what date the Olive would be born on. And she had said, damn, well, I guess I'm out of the competition because I think she'd guessed the day before. And I called her. I remember it was like 5 minutes to 7 or something, and I called her and was like, well, I'm actually think I'm in labour right now. And she was like, what? And then whilst I was on the phone to her, I had to say to her, Mum, I don't think I can talk to you. Like, I just needed to really breathe through the surges that I was having. And so our phone conversation was quite short, but then she ended up speaking to Jamie because not long after that, at about 7:30, I again was on the toilet. I was, and it was very convenient because I'd had quite an intense surge and my waters broke. Like, it was just like a waterfall.
But the perfect place to be, on the toilet.
Yeah, of course.
No mess.
So no mess. And I had yelled out to Jamie, like, Jamie, come here. Like, I didn't know whether I was, like how close I was or what was going on. Because to me, I had only been in labour still for like 5 hours, really.
Yeah.
And like it had only really been intense that last hour.
Yeah.
And so he then had called my mum, and she had come and picked Ivy up. So I didn't even, they didn't, everyone stayed out of like my room, and that was my space. And I didn't even know that mum had come and got Ivy. And Jamie he'd sent Sam a text message to say that my waters had broken, and she called him to say, that's probably something you should call me and tell me. And he was like, so, you know, what's she doing right now? You know, we had not once ever like timed surges or anything like that. I kind of just had gone with the flow and just not gone with the flow, but like just gone with them.
Ride the waves, yeah.
Yeah, just literally riding the waves. Like, and whilst he was on the phone to her, Sam had said to Jamie, is that Des? Like, take the phone near to where she is. And I had a couple of surges while I was on the phone, and I obviously was quite loud. I didn't realise, but I think I was just like groaning and moaning and making all these noises that I didn't even know were possible, but just like, really like in that zone. And this whole time I'd still had my TENS machine on and my headphones in, and so then she said, right, I'm leaving. She was still at the previous birth with Erin, our second midwife. But so Erin was tying things up there. And then Sam, because they were in Wantirna, so they're about 45 minutes away. Yeah. So she got here she came straight here, and once Erin had finished, she would make her way. I forgot to mention, actually, when we very first called Sam or messaged Sam, I also had contacted, we were to have a friend who's a photographer. She was going to come as well. So I'd let her know as well that I was in labour. Yeah. And then, so Sam got here at about 20 past 8 it was. And I, for that last hour, once my waters had broken, I just was between sitting like facing the wall, like on the toilet, or I was on all fours on the bathroom tiles. I felt really hot, and the tiles just felt really cool. Yeah. And when she got here, she came and checked with the Doppler baby's heart rate, and checked my heart rate and blood pressure and oxygen levels, and everything was all good. And I'd had, I think, a decent surge. And she didn't say it to me, but when I look back at the birth notes that she'd given me a copy of, had said that I was like, I guess, pushing and fully dilated. Yeah. So, which to me, like, I just didn't even, everything to me just felt, I never even like thought about like, well, how long are these contractions? How far along I am? Am I pushing? Like, I just didn't even think about any of that. It was all just like involuntary, and I just rode the waves and just did what I needed to do to, I guess, get through it. I just felt like I was in such a zone. And then knowing that Jamie had not long started filling up the water when Sam had, in the pool when Sam had got here, and she said to Jamie, the pool isn't going to be ready. Des is going to have, and he was like, what do you mean the pool's not going to be ready? She was like, the baby's coming. Like, Des is going to have a baby right there on the bathroom floor in a minute.
Oh my God.
And he was like, what? You've just got here. Like, what's going on? He was a bit stressed because, I guess he had been here on his own, but I guess also didn't realize that it was so far along.
Yeah, so imminent.
So, yeah. So they just left me, he actually was just sitting on the tiles he was sitting in the shower actually, and I was like facing the shower, and he was just holding my hand, and Sam was just making sure that the water was filling up in the pool, and it got to, I think, nearly 8:45. So like 15, 20 minutes. And Sam had asked if I wanted to get in the pool, and I had said to her, I really don't think I'm going to be able to stand up. Like, I just didn't feel like I was on all fours. I just really didn't think I could stand up. But her and Jamie helped me, and like, I took my headphones out, and I just remember he really made an effort. He put the music on the loudspeaker, and so I could still be listening to that same music, and had given me my comb that I had, and he was just amazing. And I got into the pool, and I was on my elbow with my elbows and head down, and I had a couple of surges, and Sam said to me, put your hand down, and I think you'll be able to feel the baby's head. And I was like, what do you mean? And I put my hand down, and I could feel a head, and I was just like, oh my God, like, is this happening? Like, and then I kind of was like, oh, I can't do this. Like, I just had this one little bit, like, I was like, oh my God, this pain is so intense, and I don't know if I can, I'm nearly there, but I don't know if I can do this now. And then I just, like, the next surge, I just turned onto my back, and she just came out, and I picked her up and pulled her up onto my chest, and she cried instantly, and she was here.
Oh,
so
my
it was
gosh.
Just the most amazing, like, surreal experience ever.
Wow. I thought you were going to tell us that, you gave birth in the bathroom, and I was like, oh, but she wanted the water birth.
No, everything worked out. Yeah, I got my water birth. And then,
oh my gosh.
So my friend who's the photographer, Ruby, and Erin, the second midwife, Olive wasn't waiting for them.
No.
So it was just Sam, Jamie, and I. But in saying that, Ruby still was on her way, and we have beautiful photos of afterwards, and Erin made it, and everyone was here in the end, and everything went really well. And I got my water birth, and I just can't believe that pulled my baby out myself and put her on my chest.
Wow.
And it was I had my vaginal birth at home.
Yeah, you did it. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is like such a feel good story. Oh my gosh.
It was
That's amazing.
And then we had uninterrupted skin to skin for hours, apart from when I birthed the placenta about 25 minutes later. So, and that actually, I had stood up to get out of the pool and lie down in bed, and it actually just, Erin, the second midwife, she worked hard for her money now, because my placenta just fell out, and I was standing. So it was literally like a water balloon popping.
Yeah.
Like, she got poor Erin got covered in my blood, and she had to take her socks off, and she was scrubbing the blood off my bedside table, and it went all over the bed and everything. But so anyway, apart from that,
I'm pretty sure what you've just said is exactly what somebody else has said in another episode. So I just want to disclaim to anyone that's listening, that does not always happen. But wow, these poor midwives getting covered in placenta blood.
I know, poor things.
Oh,
but then I had Olive in my arms in bed, and we pretty much just stayed in bed until 4 or 5 o'clock that day.
Wow.
So for hours and hours, and Olive was only, I think her length was measured, but she wasn't weighed until the next day. And we did delayed cord clamping with, I had my placenta in the ice cream bucket. And it was just such a completely different experience. Wow. It was so beautiful, and it was just crazy that only a few hours after she was born, it was about 12 or 12:30, that Erin and Sam left, and it was just Jamie, Olive, and I after all of that. And And that's when we FaceTimed. I remember we FaceTimed my mum, and her and Ivy were just so excited. It was,
Wow. Did you know that you're going to be having a little girl?
We did.
Yeah.
We didn't find out with Ivy. She was a surprise gender. But then, we found out with Olive.
Yeah.
I guess it just made us be able to feel more connected, I guess, to the pregnancy, make it a bit more special. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my gosh,
after previous experience,
yeah. I'm so happy that you got to have this experience. Like,
thank you.
That is incredible.
I am too, and I just feel very thankful, and and I'm just so proud that I trusted myself and my body, and I guess really advocated for myself, and that also Jamie supported me to do that as well.
Amazing from Jamie as well, because I think partners are often like the forgotten little piece of, birth trauma, and we know that partners are just as susceptible to birth trauma as, the birthing woman. So, wow.
Definitely.
What a story.
That's
cool.
my story.
That's your story. And, so Olive is 10 months next week, you said?
Yeah, she'll be 10 months on Monday.
I can't
believe it that she'll be one soon enough.
Wow. And I can imagine like a completely different postpartum experience as a whole.
It's been, again, the complete polar opposite. It's just been, a very straightforward. We've had a very straightforward breastfeeding journey. She's growing well, developing well. I feel like I'm in a completely different mental state. Everything's just straightforward and being very chilled. She's kind of just really fit into our family and just come along for the ride, and it's much happier as well.
Yeah. That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all of that.
Oh, thank you for having me and listening.
Yeah, of course. Do you have anything to add that we've missed or that you want to say? Or
just think that, I couldn't advocate more for how amazing it is to have a home birth.
Yeah.
And that it can be done safely, and it's just, I just think there's a whole world out there that people don't know about.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been trying to think of ways that I can get my podcast out to people who might not know about home birth, because, obviously the podcast is very new, but I don't know how to like infiltrate the other systems. So definitely, if you're listening and you have a friend that's pregnant and might never have considered home birth before, please share the podcast with them. I think I can hear Olive.
Oh, yeah, that's Olive. On the monitor.
Olive.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you for joining me.
No, thank you for having me.